വിളിക്കട്ടെ, മൂപ്പരുണ്ട് ആ സ്ഥലത്ത്. ആ റെഡ്ഡി, പ്രൊഫസർ റെഡ്ഡി. Lou, ഞാൻ ഇയർഫോൺ വെച്ചാൽ വലിയ ബുദ്ധിമുട്ട്. Hello, participants. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Only 13 people are here, I think. I don't know. I was waiting for others. So let us begin. I think we can start the class because these viewers in YouTube, they appear only, or they enter into this only at 7. So we can't go for class. But I think anybody have some this queries or clarification or questions or something, you are welcome to ask that. Then I will give answer. Okay. Somebody.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Okay.
Nijil.
Yeah, Nijil, why don't you open your this unmute your audio, video.
Video technical issues, sir.
Yeah.
Range issues, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Then you ask.
Yesterday, Dr. Makmul Sam sir mentioned about folklorography.
Yeah.
I need more explanation about folklorography.
Yeah, that is in what context he referred that, I don't know, because if I give the answer for that, it will be a problem. No, it is you have to ask him only, because somebody told about something and answering by somebody is not ethical. So I don't want to discuss on that thing, because ethnography, no, photography, so far I didn't come across that technical term. Maybe some people, some scholars might have used that. Then I am not so knowledgeable in that area. So if I make any comment on that, it is unethical. So you can through phone, or you can through email or WhatsApp, you can ask the same thing to Makbul Islam. Maybe it is something related to this ethnography. So instead of ethno, they use this folklore. Then it becomes folklorography. Maybe, I don't know exactly. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Someone else?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, yesterday's discussion is like this. If we are studying folklore, they telling there is no job opportunity, or some little job opportunities there. But sir, in NEP, all the subject they are introduced, all the subject, but except folklore.
Yeah.
In our Karnataka, they included elective, open elective, like this. All the subject they introduced, even theater education and performing arts, like this they introduced. But nowhere I didn't saw in folklore separate. Separate concept, folklore. Why? Is it not possible, sir?
Yeah, it's a question. I think Professor Makbul gave ample this knowledge about that, and if I'm not talking anything that he referred, but in my own field, my own understanding, I can give some explanation for that. Not only in here, I think in Kerala also the same thing is happening. I think more than nearly 50 subject for +2. But we tried a lot for the last 10 years, but it was not included in that list in as a subject in in this one is +2, +1 and +2. So why? Because no, the first part of this one is about the job. That means only that is the main problem with all social sciences and these humanities, because nowadays nobody wants that because it is not productive by itself. That is the problem. A subject or discipline could get this promotion only if it has some function to do in the society. Among those functions, one main function is that provide job, any discipline. That is very less as far as folklore is concerned. So naturally, people won't come to that subject to learn that subject. That is usual. That is one reason for that. Then that is why we wanted to revisit folklore, because we have something wrong somewhere. For the last 2 centuries, this subject is moving towards with all these among other disciplines, and now a time has come that it is not any function in the present society. It is found out by the international agencies also. That is why they wanted to shift from folklore to intangible cultural heritage. So we had to understand that also. Simply telling that no Jew and nothing like that is no, that one is this one not a solution for that. You had to examine. That is in this workshop we have been discussing these matters not directly but indirectly. What happened to folklore for the last 2 centuries and why it is no more in the academic arena today. So now we know that why, what, and what is the future of that subject. So anyway, I think the next session also we are going to deal with that subject. What is the future of folklore and folkloristics? So that is because people have a wrong notion that folklore is something. The problem is that folklore all the time it goes with the folk. The concept of folk. Folk is something maybe still it is not. It is against this progress, against development. Folklorists are the people who are glorifying the past and they are with the past. So such a subject has nothing to do in this era. We are swiftly moving forward. That is the main reason of this, I think, that our subject is facing. And another thing is that there's other academic disciplines. These other academic disciplines wanted, they need only our data, not the academic subject. They are fond of they are history. You see history, sociology, psychology. Not only today, earlier also psychologists mostly based on this folk life of the people. This Freud also collected, Jung also collected so many things. So many people in the field of folklore, in the field of psychology, collected so much of data and to find out their own ends, to fulfill their own ends. So the problem is that they want the data, not the discipline. In the same way, parallel to, as far as tribal people are concerned, our society or modern society who lead a life of all luxury and moving towards new development, they want their knowledge as a raw material and for fine products. They are silent about the people who are keeping that tradition. They don't want that people. So that is the attitude of the subject as well as the power. That means our government all over the world. So it is very difficult to sustain this subject folklore. So at this juncture, we are thinking about that why it happens and what is the remedy for that, because that we are dealing with. Now we are a little bit clear, I think, about this.
Yeah, yesterday I asked about that issue, sir. Sir, these new subjects, they are not introduced in UGC. Only folk literature is introduced and some folk art and folklore and even tribal studies is also not introduced in NET exams. Consider this eligibility test for the lectureship and the JRF. Yeah, sir. We are trying to, we also in department, we discussed, students also discussed. We are sending a request to UGC too. Otherwise, it is very difficult, sir. Our students are interested in folklore, but the problem is in NET, there is no subject at all. Only folk literature. The elaborated this subject, folklore is not introduced. And even the tribal studies and others too. If we give request, then they may introduce these subjects also.
No, it is not very easy because for the last, I think 15 years, not 15 years, more than that, last 20 years, I think, this the senior folklorist have been trying to ask this question to UGC: why you not introducing folklore as a subject, as a separate subject? They are not willing. They have their own reason for that. They never answer for that. But even though this, I think last time, 4 years back, the one committee for this UGC evaluation when to change the syllabus, they met. It is heard from the academicians who attended that they recommended. They told that it is not right. So you have to change this nomenclature for folklore. And if they want, they can under that so many other subjects such folk literature, folk art, or anything. But folklore should be the main. This part of that, and then such a recommendation in written given to by the academicians who assembled who met there for this renewing the syllabus. They never consider that, because that also it's a subject, it's a problem, and there were some other reasons also, because when you go to these UGC, who are the people who attend these such meetings, when you look into that also give you an answer for that. I don't want to tell what exactly that.
Yes. But it is there, sir, in Kannada.
Who are attending that? No, who evaluate this? No, if this one. So that happens. We can't question those things, and so let us know. The main problem is that our subject has no functions today. So we had to find out a function. Then, accordingly, the subject also renovated, rejuvenized. Otherwise, simply these folk songs and folk drama performance are studying and like that, and writing something and something. Then after a few years, that performance won't be there in the in the particular respective society. Then everything that is a part of historical facts. So make this subject as everlasting. As far if human beings are here, you have to define any subject in such a way that, especially social science, if you give such a definition, that yes, since till this humanity is there, then our subject also should be there in such a definition we have to give to this subject, and accordingly it acts, it's functional. So then the subject is rejuvenated. That is why this workshop. Okay. UGC, it is very difficult. It was a futile effort.
Yeah, Kannada, we have sir, folklore subject, but in English, they can't.
Yeah.
We don't have, yeah.
Kannada, the problem is that they started this MA in folklore very early, and so many people, and then what they have done in Mysore University is that not only Mysore University, in all universities, that they introduced part of the syllabus as Kannada, and it is equalized with Kannada, and those who are having this folklore PG, they can get job equal to this Kannada MA students also. That is why it is sustaining. It is a trick. As far as academic subject is concerned, it is wrong. Ethically, it is not right. No, if you want to give this discipline as its own identity, its own function, its own definition, and its own ideology, we can't club that with another one. To what is the literature is humanities, and folklore is part of the folklore is social science. How you can club both? It's very difficult. For students' pressure, they did that. That is why this folklore is in such a situation in everywhere. The main thing is that those coming for this academic discipline, studying folklore, they are not interested in folklore. Most of the people are not interested in folklore. They wanted to admission in university. It is very easy this subject, because not much application. That is why we had to change, and we had to change this attitude. Somehow we had to make this one. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, someone else? You had to ask something, because we had to start this our class only at 7, because these viewers, YouTube viewers, they expect only at 7, so we can't start it early.
Sir, some
Hello, Rajeshwari, unmute your audio.
Yeah,
Yes,
Professor Reddy has
yes,
come. Reddy. Professor Reddy has come.
Sudhakar Reddy?
Yeah.
Sudhakar Reddy will come by 7. He's having
Yeah,
some
yeah.
problem.
That I know. Yesterday he told like that. So.
sir, can I?
Yeah.
Sir, yeah, some work songs. They have no context now, but they are collected, and they may be in book form, the edited versions, or in cassette form, etc., or in stage performance, like without a context in some, like a youth festival or something else. So can we call then folklore has a lively fossil, or without context? Without context, how can we name that, sir? Like folklorismus.
Yeah, why you are worrying about this early definition? That is last century, the first quarter of last century, and folklore and our circumstances, all academic disciplines and everything has changed. Still, we have no. It is not needed to discuss those things unless we have a historical something we had to compare, comparative study when the evolution of folklore, then only we had to discuss all those things. And otherwise, it has no relevance. Those this definition given in Mariali's book dictionary, it has no relevance. Why should we waste time on that? Folklore is not whatever they told, now whatever definition they have given in Mariali's dictionary is outdated. In no context we can take out of that one. So still you teach that and you ask this UGC ask questions from that definitions. That seems that we are 100 years back.
Sir, not only that, we have that has a past, a present, and future too.
Yeah.
Folklore, yeah. It may be in a different form. The same song may not be existed, but in that place, some other songs or genres may be existed. If you are using some some other machines and all, they use some other songs, right, sir? How can we name these, like folklorism, or can we name, sir?
No, I think we could be. No, these things you have to, while studying all these things, so whatever happens, if folklore gets a new text out of earlier text, we have to examine that. And the problem is that I will come, I think, tomorrow on that issue, because a definition, this definition of folklore is something else, and that is why that definition could not satisfy the new process that have been going on in this our in and around, and we are not able to define that. No, in our definition won't that definition won't satisfy this such process. Then we create some new concept. Instead of that, we had to once after a few years we had to revisit this the subject, and we have to renew the definition that consists on that these such features also can be come under that definition. Then these such things won't come for serious discussion, because inside it will be inside of folklore. Such a definition is needed for folklore. Because it won't withstand, because you see folklore, Richard M. Dawson gave this created this new concept folklore, and that for the time when he introduced this concept, then it was okay. Then now nobody is bothered about that, because that concept it is won't fit for today's folklore and folklore's nature of and feature of folklore. So it will the same will be the fate of folklorism also, I think, after a few years. So instead of that, we have to redefine folklore now and then to fulfill the need of the hour.
Why other people are keeping silence?
Thank you, sir.
No, give preference to other people. If you have no questions to raise, tomorrow onwards we will, I think, cancel this session, 6 to 7. Otherwise, it's only just a waste of our time,
അല്ല ആളുകൾ വന്നില്ല അതോ
Sir, I have one more question, if I may, please. Good
Yeah.
evening, sir, and
Good
everyone. Sir, for a few days, we have been talking about the challenges that we face today in the field of folklore and folklore studies, because as you say that the concept of folk itself is disintegrating because of several globalized factors, migration, the issue of that people don't have that same cultural landscape, and that's how folklore is also somehow at the verge of diminishing. But I think what I could understand from what Dr. Rajeshri ma'am was trying to say, that how can we say that folk doesn't exist anymore? Because when we talk about the definition of folk, we identify a group of people who share, some commonality, be it occupation, race. And don't you think so that that's my question, that if as a human race, wherever we exist, there will be some commonality which we will share, and then and then again the same question, that if we identify folk, then there will be a lore, like the communication or non-verbal communication that we will have in form of different ways. So do we say that today the challenges are to identify those ways, because of the changing mediums, because of the changing ways of human lifestyles, because of technology and globalization? Or we are saying that the conventional ways are totally extinguishing, so so we should just take some source of kind of like challenge from there, like how are we going to revive it?
Yeah, okay. And then I also mentioned about that in the last year, that this hope, that concept, not to the term, but the concept will be there until and unless human are social being. If humanity is having this feature of sharing, so who are the people share something, then they will be considered as a group. Yeah. So we can, I think we can that if we accept that kind of a definition, nobody can question. The problem is that hope, it is already established, a strong concept used by all academic subjects all over the world. One fine morning, you can delete that from this one. Even though we give, you see, Alan Dendes gave this kind of this group kind of folk is a group, that kind of a definition in 1982. How many years over? You see, 20 plus 30, I think 38 years over. Still, we are asking the same question, because it happens because nobody take into consideration this discipline. And a strong, the folk, the concept folk has a strong background in other disciplines, and we are not strong enough, or functionally we are not our presence in the academic world to this correct this kind of understanding the concept. You have to tell them that no, this is not the way to understand this. This is like this, but this is the term not coined by folklore. because folk is the this other culture, especially anthropology and other discipline, were we are not the people use this word. Before that itself, that concept is there, that folk concept is there in the evolutionary process. All other discipline accepted that. Until and unless we have a strong hold in the academic discipline, among the academic discipline, and make them feel that, they had to accept like that. No, whatever we suggest as an academic subject, they never pay their ears to us. They wanted to keep folklore as something, that they're part of thing or something else. So even though Alan Dundas tried his level best to change this concept instead of folk, nothing happened. So, and this is the problem. We are our subject is in the midst of so many other disciplines. We are always we are associating with those discipline. At the same time, we are deviating from that discipline, questioning other discipline also. But the problem is that how far other discipline give consideration to this subject, folklore. That is why earlier the two people asked the question that why folklore is not introduced in this academic system. They never take this for this graduation. They never take for this school this one, and they don't want that. Why? We had to ask us. Now we can't blame anybody because of the folklorist, their attitude towards the subject made this discipline like this. So it is the time that for the sake of the humanity, we have to think in another way, and we have to feel the other discipline as well as the power that our discipline is something very serious, discussing something very serious for the best life of the humanity, sustenance. So we are not doing that, just telling that this describing songs or performance or something. Who is going to consider you? That is the problem with folklore. So folk, that is the problem that I am, in the last part, I am going to tell that we have to change the nomenclature itself, not by UNESCO. We ourselves decide that time has come that this old term, that is a evolutionary process, that today that kind of a folk is no more, as UNESCO told. So we had to find out a new terminology for that and attribute new function for our objectives for our subject. Then everybody will consider this subject. That is the problem. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else?
I think, Professor Raghavan,
Yeah.
you can put a question to them. Then what constitutes folklore, or what is folklore?
It is not a class. It's a this primary class or secondary class, no? It is they are senior students, and how can we ask questions like that? We can, if you want, we can have an examination like that, no? Asking questions. It's not for the workshop, no. Shop something serious. If people are not serious, we can't help it. To fill the time, we had to. No, if this is the case, nobody is there, we can have a break for, now it is, I think, 10 minutes break, and we can start our class. Yeah. That is the main thing that is the better thing that we can do. No, it is a ready.
Yeah, Sudhakar Reddy and Chalaperumal have come.
Yeah, they can ask something about that.
Both are available.
Yeah, they can talk something. Don't ask questions to students unless an examination is there. It is their right, and they are senior people who are doing research or senior teachers, and they have the responsibility to understand whatever we say and now discuss it in a serious manner.
Sir, I have one more question.
Yeah.
In the study of folklore and folk culture, it's an anthropological concept that I'm boring right now, the emic and etic approach. May I ask a question related to it? Because we haven't discussed yet in our lectures. It's just that I find it a little intriguing, so I'm putting it on.
Yeah, etic and emic. It is something that is, I think, related to linguistics. Serious studies happened in linguistics, phonology and phonetics. That is the last part of that is phonemic, phonology or phonemics. That is phonetics. Ethics is the universal unit to understand something as a universal feature. What kind of universal feature it has? Not only this unit. Basically, it is they talk about the units because minimal unit. What are the minimal unit that is available in a language? That is they can explain by articulatory phonetics or auditory phonetics or any kind of phonetics. And that is the way to understand any language in a universal way. That phonetics is universal. That you can, if you know the phonetics, you can assess, evaluate, and identify any language. This language is the phonetics of this language is this, because their unit is universal units, and they can measure that particular language or particular culture in that measurement. So that is a universal measurement. Then emic means it is that is inside. It works only inside that particular. There's as far as when we talk about language, each language has its own emic way of consciousness, cognition that have the people who speak that, they know very well that what is their own identity, and what are that unit, and this unit has a relationship, but it is a functional unit. The other one is not a functional unit as such. Function comes only inside that a system. When we talk about these such things, it is part of structural and system studying. System, we can predict that, no? Now, in a language, when you talk about a particular language, phonology of or phonemics of that language, you can predict that what kind of unit is going to add in the last prefix or suffix or infix also, or if you give a sentence, the next sentence, the structure of the next sentence you can predict, because you know that the phonology or morphology of that particular language. So that is the thing. One is universal way of measuring something. The other one is this specific cultural feature to measure. That is the main difference between these things. We are so fond of now. Without this universal, this one, it is very difficult to understand. Now, without phonetics, phonology can't exist. That is the problem. No, the basic unit, that is the basic unit. And then that basic unit, how it works in the particular language is phonemics. But the basic unit is phonetics. If there is a sound or phoneme, a phone like this, k or e, that e is a universal unit. No, it has a definition. E has a articulatory phonetics definition as well as auditory definition also is there. And naturally, you can understand that unit and take that unit and go inside a particular language and find out that the functional way of understanding that unit, how it works in that particular language, that is phonemics. So in the same way, you can have a universal, we can't deny universal units, universal way of understanding this universe. And after that, take that measure and go to the culture, specific culture, and understand how that unit works or functioning in that particular context, particular culture. That is actually this emic way of understanding something. Now it is very clear, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So my question here stands that when we use these approaches, emic and etic approaches, in our folklore studies, can we say that emic approach is itself in the text because a folklore itself is representational, itself is functional, and it's a communication that what worldview the folk is trying to represent to the the neighboring folk or to the world out there. So an ethic is the theoretical approach that we put to that cultural system that thrives. So when we talk about folklore studies and the challenges that we face, is it important to identify first to learn how the emic beliefs or like the culture itself is thriving, the folk culture, the folklore is growing, and then we apply theories which we borrow from a universal pan academia.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me ask this: from which discipline you belong?
So from literature, I did my
Yeah,
master's in literature.
yeah, literature. Okay, now you are doing folklore research.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you may be knowing linguistics. Without linguistics, I think no MA syllabus is there. I think so. You may be knowing that is why you may be knowing this ethics and emics.
Yes, sir.
As far as you see, when you talk about trait, Carlyle Rohan, that is not a functional unit. It is you can find out a trait. That trait can be in anywhere you can find out that trait. Any epic, epic, you can find out that particular trait. Trait is a etic unit or motif. Motif is a etic unit, but how does that particular etic unit behave in a particular culture? That becomes, then it is part of the emic. So it's functional unit. So then you can ask the question that this prop, what he has done, whether etic unit or emic unit. It is a functional unit that because it a unit maybe any unit lack. That is a unit in that it is a functional unit, but that lack as such, it is at the same time the lack is a universal this one. That you can find out lack in any tale, any sex, this one. So it is an etic unit. But how it behaves in fairy tales, especially Skasti, then that relationship with the definition of structure itself is like that. No, each unit has its own definite relationship to other unit and to the whole to make it a complete one. So then when that unit, that is why he called as function. It's a functional unit. It has not an exist in that particular. If you take a particular tale, a function lack has not an independent existence, only in relation to other one. So it's a functional unit. So it is an emic unit. When you talk about motif can be anywhere. You can get the same motif in modern literature. You can get the same motif in art, drawing or something. You can get that in myth. Everywhere you can get a motif. Then Allenandus goes for motif theme. Immediately it becomes a functional unit, motif theme. That is, then you have to ask the question that in which this motif theme, in which folklore form? That is the difference between these things. It is a little bit theoretically this one. To understand without the background of linguistics, very difficult to understand this. Okay.
I think we will stop here.
Yeah.
And we will start your class.
Yeah. Chumar, you can put it that. That is, today we are going to enter into a new subject, international interference on folklore. So in a particular point of time, folklore, till then, folklore was the matter of particular community or particular region. But nobody cares about that, except these popular antiquities people and folklore, this collection and preservation and other things. It has some function to do in the international community. It has something to do. That is why international community interfere with this folklore. So we are trying to understand what made them, especially UNESCO, made them to discuss this issue, this folklore. Why? You have to ask that question, why? And at last they reached that it should be a property of the humanity, not a folk confined to a particular folk. Allenandus asked the question, who are the folk? And we are the folk. We are the folk with this answer. Then, at last, knowingly, UNESCO take a decision that and give such a definition to the same material available in our culture, available in different parts of the world, and they said that it is the property of the humanity. That was the change happened in folklore when we look in detail. So let us see. I think the first I don't have much time because we have I think tomorrow I think we have so much, and I had to finish one more segment today, this one, because this Allenandus definition and Anben Amos definition that also consists of 17 slides, 17 to 18 slides, I think. And we have to go for this. No, before that, we have to go for this future of folklore and folkloristics. Then I'll address this definition and then Amos definition, the conceptual understanding of that. Then, if possible, we have to go for an alternative for folklore. That also, if time permits. So this much I have to cover within 2 days. So I'll be little fast today also. So international interferences on folklore. Let us see UNESCO and folklore. That is the international agency that concerned with culture. You see A, B, C, D, E. That 5 units and 5 bullets in this. I will read one after another, then it is very easy to me to complete that within the time. By the second half of the 20th century, folklore used to generate several texts to cope up with the socio-economic context that happened. That means after 1950, maybe 60 or 70, not only folklore is not its function is not limited to that particular folk, it moves outside for several reasons. Then one feature of folklore that happened in after 1915, that means it is in the it's the period of nation state period, and each and every country wanted to be prosperous through industry. Then the next step is that folklore becomes part of industry. Slowly, what happens now? I already explained all these things earlier, so I don't want to repeat that. That folklore, 2 kinds of changes that happen to folklore as a material. That is, one is it gives so many texts out of one text. Then next one is it is going outside of the context. And people wanted to take this folklore in different kinds of industry. In the beginning, it is raw material that available in our cultural this one. And later, even the system also taken by them. System means I already explained the previous day or the previous day that even system, social system, traditional social system, or this kinship system, they put it to the cultural industry or folklore industry, we can call. And the new system has developed out of that and made the people to recognize that, made the people feel that it is something good, and instead of that, they introduce the new kinship system that happens that is part of the industry. That's its production of new knowledge. New knowledge, not only knowledge, out of knowledge, new system, new product, material product out of this folklore materials. And that kind of change has happened in this after 1950. You see, folklore products becomes part of economy. So naturally, when it enter in the industry, part of industry, it gets a new function in the society, that it is related to economy also. Economic function. I don't want to elaborate that because we already discussed those matter earlier. Then, right over folklore becomes an issue. So, folklore as a commodity, it enter into this market by itself without any change. That is changing the context. It is out of context. Any folklore material go outside and it appears in certain other context. It is called folklorism actually. Not only this material, that is even performance, folk performance. Now it is taken outside and with some changes according to the need of the viewers expected in that particular area, particular context. It is it got changed. That is something that a new product, not the same as before. That is when it was in the midst of the folk. So, in nutshell, folklore becomes either a commodity by itself or a commodity through industry. This is the situation happened after 1950s. You see, UNESCO, World Trade Organization, that is WTO, World Intellectual Property Organization, before entered in the scene after 1950. That I'll show how much they were interested in this area. Next one. Yeah. I will give first the enumerate how many meetings by the international this agency, this UNESCO under the instruction of the UNESCO. There are so many committees formed and they met and discussed this matter about this matter right over folklore. That happened. Next. Yeah. It's not one. Yeah. You see, I am not going to this. Just to see this one. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, it is speed is more, so nobody can make it stand still for some time. You see, yeah, what happened? Yeah, it is some problem with that. Anyway, you see, in 1952 onwards, up to it's a technical problem that we have. You can't see that because we put this as an scroll inside this PowerPoint. It is not working properly. So I think I can give in this one. So what happened? 1952 onwards, up to till 2003. So many committee meetings. It is not by folklorists, not by cultural people, but by this. It was taken by, not by UNESCO directly, but it was the people so more interest in this convening these meetings were WTO and WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization. Why? We had to ask this question. We had to answer this question. Then we have to move this subject in some other direction. We ourselves feel that it is necessary. Okay, next slide. Okay. Oh, good. Next slide. There is a little problem with that because we introduced this scrolling inside the PowerPoint that made little difficult for us to see that. Yeah. Chumar, is it comes? Yeah. Yeah, next one. Yeah. Next. Yeah. I think you can read this for a while, not fully, because we don't have much time. And in 52 onwards, adoption of the Universal Copyright Convention. 1967 to the Executive Committee of the Bern Union. Then 1971, 1972, 1973. So many meetings. You see, you just see that. The next one. Yeah, 1976, 77, and 78. 78, another meeting also. 78, another meeting also. UNESCO, everything was convened by UNESCO and World Intellectual Property Organization. You see the next one. Yeah, 1979, UNESCO and WIPO, and 1979, UNESCO. Yeah, 1980, UNESCO and WIPO again, and 1980, UNESCO Central Conference, and 1981, UNESCO and WIPO again. Okay. Then 1981, UNESCO, WIPO, 1982, UNESCO, and UNESCO and WIPO again, and UNESCO and WIPO again, UNESCO and WIPO again, in 1983 and 1983 again. Okay, next one. 1983, 1984, 1984 again, 1985. You see this, most of the case WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, 1985 UNESCO and General Conference and UNESCO Special Committee. Okay, the next one. Yeah, you see all those things, and I don't want to read. Why should I toil? You just read that. No, it is not just giving an idea that how they are interested in this, how much they are interested in this and these things and international agencies. This one, next one. Yeah. This is the very important. I will come again that 1989, the Paris Conference. That definition, that definition is here. The body of the UNESCO approved the definition to folklore as given below. That is, I think it will come next also, I think. Anyway, I will read here. Yeah, folklore and popular. No, it is to them. It is both are same. Traditional and popular culture is the totality of tradition based creations of cultural community expressed by a group or individuals and recognized as reflecting the expectations of a community insofar as they reflect its external and social industry. Yeah, its standards and values are transmitted orally by imitation or by other means. They are talking about this transmission in the as part of the definition. Its form are among other languages, literature, music, dance, games, mythology, rituals. They enumerate this one. For details of you go to this one. Okay, next one. Yeah. Okay, next slide, we can go. This gives an idea that how the international, this community wanted to interfere in folklore. All we had to think that this all these the reference that I have given is not totally for only for folklore, but other things are. I think this one. This is particularly on folklore. These meetings, what is given in this one, this slide is especially for folklore. That is why I eliminated those meetings which is directly concerned with the folklore, and it's right. copyright or any other right, put it in this one, you see, and in 52 UNESCO Convention, copyright issue, it is the first time that meeting considered this Copyright Act. At that time, no intellectual property right came in. 1967 UNESCO, before both together, again copyright issue revised only for developing countries. That is the thing. Everything is for developing countries, not for undeveloped or developed countries. It is everything is they discussed everything for and giving recommendation to the developing countries. You have to take a notice of that also. 1978, WIPO and UNESCO again, copyright issue. They came with an agreement. Yeah, 1979, joint inter-secretariat of these two organizations, again copyright issue. And 1980, UNESCO and WIPO, again copyright and IPR. You see, it took nearly 30 years to discuss. Initially they discussed copyright only, copyright of folklore, because they considered it as an expressive form, and for any expressive form, the act can be considered as a copyright. That is why for 30 years they have been discussing about Copyright Act only. But when 1980, their issue, they added one more issue, that is IPR, intellectual property right. First time IPR enters in their discussion. UNESCO General Council, UNESCO General Council, that was a very important thing as far as in the evolution of folkloristics. Its impact was so much. This is 1980. Why this? Yeah. Yeah. This one search and this 1989 Paris Washington conference. Yeah, 1989 Paris conference actually. Recommendations adopted. They defined folklore, and they recommended so many things as far as folklore is concerned, and it is for developing countries, not for either for the developed countries or the undeveloped countries. On those days, those two terms were very, very important, because the evolution is considered in such a way. That is why in the earlier part of my this workshop, I was so particular about showing the evolution theory, and the because these people put all these things in this way. Then nothing happened for 10 days, 10 years. 1999 Washington Conference, search for an appropriate term. You see, 1989 they were telling so many things and so many recommendations, and it took 10 years, and after that they in between they didn't meet seriously for any decision. They didn't put into practice what all recommendations never insisted the countries so much in a better way to make the reality of these recommendations. And 1999 these people coming with this appropriate term, folklore is not an appropriate term. 2001 International Roundtable Conference proposed intangible cultural heritage instead of folklore. 2001. 2003, General Council of UNESCO affirmed the usage in this IX, intangible culture, ICH, intangible cultural heritage. 2004 International Conference, Safeguarding of this TCH and ICH. Tangible cultural heritage and intangible culture put together, equalizing that. First step was, instead of folklore, they substituted with by this new term, that this intangible cultural heritage, and they put this together, this tangible cultural heritage and intangible cultural heritage together, and took a common decision on that short term, and they were recommending some short term maintenance recommendation and long term economic benefit. Yeah, solely this economic benefit comes in the clump. Okay, next one. So before enter into this evaluation or discussion on this interference of international interference on folklore, we had to define, we had to understand something about this technical term that they used, not by folklorists, but this committee used to use in that their meeting here and there, now and then. So we had to have a clear understanding of this one. Now, initially they were so particular about safeguard folklore. That safeguard folklore means they are expecting, when we go for a safeguard, safe custody, if something is, you expect some attack, or you expect some problem on a particular thing, then you have to keep it in safe custody. That is the way. That means folklore, they felt that folklore is going to face a serious problem for its existence. That is the problem. That is the main problem they wanted to protect. And accordingly, to keep it safe, we have to do some recommendations. So now and then they use the word, especially in 1989 conference, they used this word also, that safeguard folklore. Before that also, safeguard folklore. Safeguard means it faces some problem, and for its existence. So we had to consider that. And accordingly, we had to make rules and regulations to safeguard this cultural property. That was the thing. Then next one is conservation. They also use, very rarely they use conservation. They are not so fond of this technical term, conservation of folklore. Conservation of folklore means you can safeguard folklore in two ways: through conservation and through preservation. That is, two methods is there. You can leave that, we have to guard them and let them grow, let it free to, as far as folklore is concerned. Folklore, this conservation of folklore is that folklore, leave folklore as such, because it has the capability of moving from one time and one place to another, and creating so many texts. That is the test for this, whether the folklore is living folklore. A living folklore is all the time creating new text out of earlier texts, so many texts at the same time in the space and time you get. So that is the liberty of any folklore form. So you can leave it they can independently, they can flourish. We have to do what we have to do is that we have to save, we have to make it as a guard. That is by conservation of forest. Conservation, they never allow anybody to enter in the forest, and the forest is free. That inside the forest, both these animals and the plant these trees and everything grow with their liberty, but how they wanted to live. In the same way, let folklore live as it is expected. It has its own way of flourishing by creating so many texts. So our duty is that the duty of a conservator of folklore is that leave it alone and make it safe from others who encroach. That is the conservation of folklore. And preservation of folklore comes next. Preservation is something not equal to conservation. Preservation is that you have to keep it in the custody and make it safe without any decay. That is why you can, the food preservation. You can preserve the food by some means, by packing the food. In this market, you are putting the preservation method is there. So keep away from decay. That is preservation. That conservation, it is not anyway related to conservation. Conservation is with the, as far as folklore is concerned, it is allowed to create any number of texts by living in the context, and it can take its own time and it can move to whatever place it can. So that is conservation. Preservation is by somebody, not conservation is the folklore itself means folk themselves try to make it conserve. But in the case of preservation, the community, if you are for fear of its extinction, then you can collect those things, document those things, and keep it in safe custody. That is, how we are going to preserve that? A lively thing you can't preserve. Only conservation is possible. So preservation means you can take it from the context and keep it in safe custody, and adding some preservation. Now you can do some preservation method, apply some preservation method. That means the rules and regulations of the archives and museum. That is why archives and museum was so much influenced this discipline in a particular era. That is maybe in the 20th century. So that is preservation of folklore and protection of folklore. How to protect folklore? Protection means just any outside influence on folklore, outside something, and this something happened to that. Without keep it from keep it in a safe custody, safe zone, by giving support to protecting it. So that also there. So these four technical terms now and then they used in these so many meetings, and that was the fuel for that discussion. What to do with the folklore? Whether we wanted to safeguard, whether we wanted to conserve it, whether we want to preserve, whether we want to protect. So time and again they change their attitude, and when we go through these what all discussions in these meetings, you can see that they are not with the same suggestion recommendations. 1989 they gave so many things. Now they recommended so many things, but nothing happened. So they changed the attitude in 1999. So let us see this. This is as far as folklore is concerned, this is very important. That is 1989 recommendation to safeguard folklore. Then they define folklore. It is very strange. You see, an international body, not an academic body, that body is defining the material of a particular academic subject, that is folklore. They define what it is. Why? We had to answer that question. We had to find out the answer for that question. Why they are not going to define chemistry? Why they are not going to define sociology? Then why only to folklore? We had to find out the reason for that. What all folklore comprises, not only that, then that definition gives what all it comprises, folklore, what it comprises, enumerating this genre, like that, they enumerating. Then in the recommendation, 1989, this meeting, it is for the means of safeguard folklore. As I, the last, this slide, I gave it as first one, to safeguard folklore. Then need of preservation and conservation. You know, what all folklore comprises, and enumerate the different genres. Need of preservation and conservation. Need of preservation and conservation. In that meeting, that they seriously discussed the issue of this preservation and conservation also. The next thing that discussed is support for transmitters of folklore. That is very, very important as far as folklore is concerned, that recommendation. After that, they never talked about that, and they never discussed this matter in any of these deliberations. You see, support for transmitters of folklore. As you know, folklore is, by definition itself, it is generation to generation. It is transmitting from earlier generation to this generation, and this generation try to the next generation. So, folklore is a material. No, as academicians, we have data. For the folk, it is a practice, or it is a material, or a material culture, or anything. It is part of their life. And they have to, as a practice, folklore is mainly practice. As a practice, that has to transmit to the next generation. Then only it can sustain. So they discussed that matter. They understood that this is very important, and to sustain this folklore in this world, we have to support for transmitters of folklore, support the people behind folklore, the society behind folklore, the community behind folklore. So we are interested only in this folklore, but we never consider this, the whole community is there who created that particular folklore for as part of their life, to make the life more happier or more livable. That is why they created this folklore. So without considering this transmitters, the community behind that, no conservation, no preservation is possible. No conservation, no safeguard is possible. So they discussed that matter, and recommendation gave to support this folk. This is the thing that happens in our modern, this civilized world. In the case of tribals, we need their knowledge. We need their practice, but we don't need the community, the people, the living people who created that and who keep that tradition and transmitting to the next generation. We never bothered about those people. How do they live, and how they create, and how they transmit from one generation to another. So we had to make their life possible. Our government or our this one, they used to tell that, but we know the situation, what is happening this. So promotion of academic folklore. Then another recommendation was, another part of that recommendation was this academic folklore, because they know that this preservation and conservation and safeguarding of folklore can be done only through making an ideological backing. That ideological backing can be had only through academic folklore. So they wanted to start different departments all over the world, especially in third world countries. All over the world, it is a lie. It is only third world countries. That is why Ford Foundation and Smithsonian Institute went to all countries, and they came to India also. They started this the preservation and conservation, and they starting new academic courses in various universities. So it is part of the decision taken by the UNESCO, not by our government or any government. You see, they decide, we obey. That's all. So it is part of the international politics. That is why I'm telling that all the time. I am telling that folklore is as a subject or a matter, as a data, it is not free from politics. Who decided that we have to start new department and new projects? Not we, not even our government. Technically, we can say that our university has started this course. Now in India, so many universities started intangible cultural heritage and cultural heritage department all over the India. It is not the decision of the India government as such. It is the decision of the UNESCO. And they poured money, pumping money for that. So we are fond of that, and we decided. It is not the policy of the government, but it is the policy of the international community and international power. So here the problem arises. So folklore is as a subject, as an object also, subject as well as an object. It is highly pressurized by international politics than any other subject, any other cultural matter in this world. So that is my argument. Give support to the folk to counter the bad impact of industrialization on folklore. That is the last part of that recommendation in 1989. Because all these member countries, they put forward this idea, this fact that industrialization was, it is not, no, I was talking about this industrialization for four classes, 4 sessions, what the industrialization does. It is not my idea, it is the idea created by this international agency, that is UNESCO, in 1989 recommendation. The last recommendation is that give support to the folk to counter the bad impact. So industrialization has a bad impact. They agree. At that time they agreed. Then they wanted to they support to the folk to counter that. How? That also, but nothing happened after 1989 till 1999. No meeting, nothing. It was a big gulf between this 1989 and 1999 when they come with a new terminology. Next. Okay. Unfortunate impact of industrialization on folklore. Industrialization and globalization paralyzed the potential of folklore that to create a number of texts. That has happened actually in our society all over the world. Paralyze the potential of folklore. Because I think I had to explain it a little bit. I don't have much time. Still, without that, it is not very clear, I think. How globalization and industrialization paralyzing the potential of folklore? Because of the structural pressure or contextual pressure, the society, the environmental society as a natural environment gets changed. Accordingly, folklore also gets changed. People used to create new text for their own folklore, and this life, their life, and they make their life possible. So that have been doing for the last so many thousands of years of this humanity all over the world as a small community, diverse communities. But industrialization, what it has done is they produce so many, to satisfy the need of these communities. They bring these different kinds of products, and then that particular folklore satisfied their needs have no function to do thereafter. Then what happens? Just to extinct. It is the end of that particular folklore. The same function, two things have the same function won't exist. One of the thing has to move from the scene. So, for so many reasons, industrial product has its own this benefit, or this for this users friendly, as far as new culture is concerned. So people are attracted with the new industrial product, and they keep away this folklore, and that folklore becomes. That is why then when we technically we were talking about in a theoretical way that a folklore by itself is a living folklore. Then it moves with in a particular stage it becomes a dead folklore. Then it becomes dying folklore. That what happens nowadays in most of our folklore is dying folklore, because new industrial product entered in the scene and taken over the function of that particular folklore form, folklore culture. So it has to leave the scene. So that happens in our society. So folklore is in number of texts. So thereafter, it is not needed. That particular folklore has no function, and it loses its ability to create number of texts. That happened. That they understood. UNESCO also know, the people who attend the meeting also know when they were in 1989, they know it very well, and that is why they went for that kind of a recommendation. Folklore that is intrinsic by nature becomes an international affair. That is the problem. Folklore, all the time, it is an intrinsic in nature. It is inside. That is why even Alan Dundas definition, as well as I am so particular about Alan Dundas definition of folklore and Dan Ben-Amos this definition of folklore, because they are talking about this intrinsic feature of folklore that is inside. So slowly it goes out. Some of this one extinct. Some of the thing go with this changes that happens. Appropriate with the changes that happens in the society, and keep new text out of that. Then naturally it goes to the market. No, it compete with the industrial product also, or it itself becomes an industrial product. In that way, folklore gets so many changes. So, slowly, it is part of the economy of the international community. So they wanted to. It's an international affair. Folklore till that day, folklore was the problem of an international. It is an affair of the particular community, and when it goes outside, warning has given that it is. Dawson told that it is fake law. You have to care. You have to warn. Yeah, you have to keep it in mind that this one, what you see here is a fake law. And later it was approved by that folklorism. And then it again this appropriating with the culture and folklorization process, and it also becomes folklore. like that it happens, no? So it is also part of the now product. It becomes a product, and in that way, it is an international affair. Then international community has to interfere. That is the context. International community, UNESCO, which is dealing with culture, wanted to appear in this particular context to deal with this problem. We can't say it is not right. We can't blame them, even though discussions were there to lay down international laws to safeguard folklore. It limited to give some recommendations. And you see, only recommendation, because what all deliberation they had in that meeting, these developed countries, representative of the developed countries, were not so inclined to do all these things. They wanted, they keep them away. It is the business of these developing countries, and they have to take responsibility of these such conditions, and they have to find out their own. This one, we can give some recommendations, not rule. They never insisted member countries to make a rule. Later they did that. That is another thing that I will come later. So this is the thing. The next one. Definition of folklore given by, approved by UNESCO. You go through that. Folklore, they don't have any difference between tradition and popular culture. They're considered as equal. That means they never consider that it is an intrinsic one. It is, to them, it is not confined to a particular group, because their intention is that it is the material that to be gone to the industry, and it is marketed universally. For that, they have to deny the right over the folklore of the particular community and say that it is the property of the humanity later. That is why they don't see you. This is the exact recommendation that is given by this UNESCO, this committee, 1989 committee to the UNESCO, and it was approved. Folklore bracket or traditional and popular culture. Any traditional culture, to them there is no difference between traditional culture and popular culture and folklore. To them, all are the same. There ends our argument. We are talking about asking the question folklore, then who owns that folklore? No, definition of folklore itself is that if there is a folklore, there should be a community behind that particular lore. They are called as folk. Without a folk, no lore. Without a lore, no folk. So this definition in 1989 never approved that folklore is confined to certain specific communities. That is why popular cultural and traditional, that we had to explain in a, what is the difference between traditional lore and popular lore. We have to explain. I think it will take a long time. So folklore is the totality of traditional based creations of culture creating community. Culture creating community. It's a creation of culture created community. Traditional based. That is very important, because in our definition, our academic definition also, this in at a time, not now, earlier time, tradition was, as you know, the test dose of folklore was, one is anonymity, the other one is this one tradition, and multiple texts. Like that, so many, this one we used to learn in the classroom. So based on traditional based creation of culture creating community, culture creating community. Yeah, they are putting this, making this number. There is a connotation when we use these two words, folklore and culture, what is the difference between these things? Culture creating community is creating folklore. That is the meaning by this. I don't want to go in detail. If you go in detail, we can write a long essay on this, only this definition. Why, how these people are, purposefully or not, they are, with this so many, they were not very clear about these such things. Community expressed by a group or individuals. You see, again, problem, a group. Alan also was telling about a group, but they added individuals also. That means there may not be a group shading group, but individuals are also can be recognized as reflecting the expectations of the community, so far as they reflect its cultural and social identity. You see how they define folklore. I don't want to go in detail. Its standards and values are transmitted orally by imitation or by other means. So it may be oral, it may be imitation, that means action, or by other means, any other means. Its forms are, among others, you see how this vaguely they mentioned all these things, Its forms are telling all these things, They put like this, Its forms are, among others. Why among others? We have to think about that. Language, literature, music, dance, games, mythology, rituals, customs, handicrafts, architecture, and other arts. This is the definition given by our UNESCO. So next one. UNESCO WIPO World Forum in 19. I am leaving the in between some, in between nothing, but before that and after that, so many things. And 1999 in this Thailand, Phuket, Thailand, that which convened there because it's a developing country on those days. Discuss the legal protection of traditional and popular culture. Now they are coming after 10 years, coming with the legal protection of traditional and popular culture. They left this word folklore. What is the meaning of legal? Not physical. 1989, they were telling about physical existence of protection, means physical protection deeds that we expect. All community, they're not only this folklore, the transmitting community also to be protected, they told. But within 10 years, they changed this one. Only legal protection that we can give, popular culture. Traditional and popular culture. Earlier, 1989, folklore was given as the term, and in bracket they put as traditional and popular culture. Here, eliminating the folklore, the term folklore, and directly come to traditional and popular culture. It is we can't see, say that it is a mistake they have done. It is an omission, what you call this, by mistake. On 1989, recommendations, the World Forum was silence. On 1918 recommendations, the World Forum was silence. Then it didn't discuss, because 1989, they came forward with so many recommendations. It was by that way they established so many things in all over the world, and movement was also were done. but no evaluation of that took place in this meeting 1990. They were silent about this meeting. It's 1989 conference at their recommendations. Why? We had to ask. The problem is that our representatives also attended these conferences, India government representative also. What they have done, that they had done, we don't know. Issue. And then what is the issue then? It is my own, the other one is their problem. This is issue is now how to protect folklore from illegal. What their issue is, they discussed this, not 1918 recommendation and evaluation. Instead of that, how to protect folklore from illegal exploitation while dissemination, making use of it in out of context, that is folklorism. Legal protection. The people earlier itself, maybe in 1980 onwards, theoretically we are dealing with this phenomena that folklore used to go outside, out of this original context, and sometimes it goes to the industry and creating so many problems. But these people wanted to protect folklore from illegal exploitation while dissemination. How to disseminate? Dissemination, as you know, that how to move it, in a purposeful way. How you are going to this propagate, intrude into the concerned society. That is dissemination. Make it available, make it popular among the nearby societies or new societies or any societies. It is called dissemination. If you have a knowledge, then you can disseminate that. What our colleges and universities are doing, the dissemination of knowledge already procured by our scientists and any social science and others in the classroom. They disseminate that, and that dissemination goes to the society in an implied manner. So that the dissemination, making use of it in out of context. That also is a question. We folklorists, our attempt was this phenomena we noticed earlier itself. Hans Moser and Regina Bendix, after that highly theorized by White, William White, I don't know exactly the first part of his name, White, V-O-I-E-T, G-I-E-G-T, White, he is silent, I think, White. He's theorized that, and we were keenly watching that process. What is happening in that society as folklore is concerned? Then these people came with this one out of context. We had to make legal things. That means folklore was flourishing. The folklore was something flourishing inside the community, as well as it goes as and when it feel need, it goes outside also. Then internationally they wanted to put a rule for that folklore. In what direction it can create, what that direction it can go out. And what will be the function of that then? In what way it disseminate? Like this, they wanted to make this legal, rule for these such things. That means it is international. A small community, sometimes in the forest, the primitive community, they have these things, and when it for livelihood, they take this their product or their this one anything, their folklore outside. Then this is a problem to them. Whether it be good or bad, international interference in the form of power Any legal action, legal proceedings is a power. It's a imposition of the power. Internationally, they wanted to impose power over folklore. That is happening here. Now, it is very interesting when we read that this one, USA and Britain, the representative of USA and Britain kept away from the forum. No, especially why we had to ask. No, this meeting was so serious about take part this contribution of the developed countries to be taken seriously, and not only it is a problem of the developing countries, because we are the developed countries and we have to help them, and like that this recommended to fulfill the recommendations, we have to fulfill our part also. Then they were not agreeing. They were told it is none of our business because we are developed countries. It is their problem. A country where this problem comes, this illegal dissemination and illegal marketing or illegal something happens where? Not in developed countries. There is no folklore as such, no, in their definition. So these problems are facing by the developing countries, and they had to take their responsibility, not we. So they don't want to take part in that. They went away from the meeting, went out of the meeting. That happened in 1999. Then, next one. Then in this context, I don't have Janet Planck's comments in this context. It is very, very interesting that she wrote she is a folklorist, not a Paka folklorist, but she is interested in folklorist, and as my understanding, and she made some comments on this and sent to this submitted to this committee. I don't want to read because it, I think it will be you will get all these copies of this one. So she pointed out a serious problem. You see the last part of that, earlier. If not, IPR rules are to be elaborated on folklore. This should be within the framework of a new UNESCO's convention that embraces a broad and understanding as possible of folklore and safeguard not only the product but also the spontaneous act of creation and its social cultural context. That was very, very important. It was not positively considered by UNESCO. Janet wanted to keep not only folklore, had to keep in safer form that not only product means folklore, but also the spontaneous act of creation, that is creation of folklore. In that is a lively thing that happens, naturally happens. A folklore is evolving by itself. A text of folklore is evolving by itself. New text one after another evolving by itself. That is the act of creation. And its social and cultural context also to be safeguarded. So socio-cultural context means we have to, this is the point in which I am proposing the upliftment of culture. Development should be uplifting, not the unification. So I don't want to go in detail. The next one. Positional shift of folklore from central to peripheral. You see, earlier folklore was in the position of in the center, where around that so many other ideas such as TC, OH, IK, CH, LK, TK, TAE, FV, and PC. Folklore expression also. Folklore is something else, and folklore expression is something special. And popular culture, PC, TC, traditional culture, Like that, all this IK, international intellectual knowledge, like that, so many local knowledge, TK, traditional knowledge. These such things are, folklore is in the central part, and it's all these are features of folklore. Yes, I mean, we considered like that in the earlier, but such a situation when international interference on folklore, the a serious change that happens, that ICH came in, instead of substituting this cultural, intangible cultural heritage in the center, folklore was pushed in the peripheral. And ICH, in the same way, around ICH, all these things are there, because only shift has happened to, the substitution has happened to folklore. Instead of folklore, ICH were, and whatever we talked about this folklore is pushed out of this, and its position is completely peripheral after this new movement. Next one. Next one. 1999 UNESCO WIPO regional consultation. Folklore is displaced by the term traditional and popular culture. What already I explained. Traditional artistic expression and traditional knowledge appears first time in this definition. The international community should assist to ensure that legal protection, preservation, conservation of rich heritage of humanity. I put that underline humanity. It is not confined. No, they never wanted to say that it is the property of the community concerned. Instead of that, they used to use the word humanity. It is the proper heritage of the humanity. That is quite controversial, because our definition of folklore is that without this specific community, no folklore is the real definition. Exact definition of folklore is that it is confined to a particular. When you utter the word folklore, then the next idea coming with that is confined to which community, which group of people. So they don't want to consider it's a property of the community. They want to say it's a property of the humanity through this intangible cultural heritage. The whole program is meant for the developing countries. That is also, they propose that it is nothing to do with the developed countries. No, these developed countries are taking part in this one as a major role in this meeting, and they don't want to take any responsibility of this. It is the duty and responsibility of the developing countries where these folklorists or ICH is facing problem. So why? We have to ask this question. It is that answer will be an economic one. That answer will be a political one. Answer will be a social one also. We have to answer this question. They never answer this question because they don't want. So I don't. It's a serious thing. Okay, next one. Local empowerment of international cooperation. That now I am going in detail that what happened in 1999 convention. It was organized by UNESCO and Smithsonian Institute in Washington. Why? Why Smithsonian Institute, which is the body pouring money in certain areas of research and activism and everything. Smithsonian Institute, we know very well that parallel to this Ford Foundation also. This meeting was convened with the associated with the Smithsonian Institute, UNESCO and Smithsonian Institute. They have their own interest. First time, pronouncement came that the term folklore is inappropriate in 1999 meeting. it is inappropriate. That means it is not appropriate with the present context. What kind of context? All these already said, political, economic, and social context in which we are living. This term folklore is not appropriate, means it is not admissible. Still, the meeting is so particular about the matter of 1989 recommendations. You see, when you see the details of the recommendations and details of the discussion and submit a report and everything, it is very clear that they didn't go beyond whatever recommended by 1989 conference. The direction only has changed. The direction. So we have to think all this. I don't want to go in detail. That we have a little more. I think so much. This one. Next one. Yeah, this is an international roundtable in Turin in 2001 on intangible cultural heritage working definition. Actually, it is 2001. No, 1999. They went. No, they decided. No, they gave this responsibility to some people to bring this alternative terminology for this one, whereas it is an institutional term. He told like that. I don't remember his name. One man from this USA itself. He told that it is an institutional term. That means it's term means it is having this folk. That is the problem. Folklore is having one folk with that. That make it institutional. It can't go beyond that. If there is no folk, there is no folklore. So that make an institution. Folklore is an institution. That is why folklore is an institutional term. It can't go beyond folk. That is why they wanted to take this folklore outside of the folk. So they wanted to change this nomenclature, and then 2000 working definition they gave this like this. Before conference itself, they reached a consensus that ICH will be the term to substitute folklore. Without much discussion, because after 1999, they conducted so many again 3-4 regional this meeting somewhere, and they came with some suggestion, and that it was decided already, and for a sake of the decision, they put it in this meeting. Already they decided that. Dr. Peter Seatel suggested that folklore is inappropriate as it is an institutional term. He is the man, the Peter Seatel. He was pivotal to substitute folklore with this intangible cultural heritage. Those who did not agree to sign in the action plan in 1997, within 2 years, came forward to convene the Washington Conference and paved the way for an easy shift from the term folklore to intangible cultural heritage is not accidental. It is my opinion, I don't know. What I felt reading all these things, it is not accidental one. Because in the 1999 meeting, these two countries, representative, they don't want to take part in this one. They left. And within 2 years, in their this official pressure, after 2 years, they come with this new meeting, 2001. That's why I put it like this. Those who did not agree to sign in the action plan of 1997, within 2 years, came forward to convene a Washington conference and paved the way for an easy shift from the term folklore to intangible cultural heritage is not accidental. I am not going to give answer for this such thing. UNESCO meeting in Paris 2003 at its 32nd session approved the decision of the round table. 2003, the UNESCO meeting approved this transition or the substitution of this term. The approved definition given to ICH, tangible cultural heritage, and definition of folklore in 1987 are not having much difference. When you look into this definition of 1989 given to folklore and the definition given by the same body, UNESCO, in 1999 and 2001 are identical, no much difference. Why? That means content-wise, they are not against folklore, but the term, it has some connotation. It makes the thing, it makes very difficult to manage the IPR, CR, and PR of this folklore. That is the problem, because in this terminology itself, that is folk, which community, and it is the right of that community to keep that their culture. You can't do anything. So they wanted to remove that community from that law. That is why they wanted to do all these things. They approved definition given to SCH and definition to a folklore. That is why the definition of ICH and definition of this folklore are almost same. That I think in next slide it will I can show that. The real issue is that local empowerment and international cooperation is nothing but to bring folklore or cultural heritage, whatever it may be, under a common umbrella of international rules and regulations for its easy transactions. It may be through CR, IPR, or PR. That is the ultimate need. Why they wanted to do that? Make it possible, very easy to this transaction of this folklore, whatever we referred as folklore early and now as ICH. They wanted to transfer that without any difficulty, easy transaction, because it's a commodity. Transaction means it's a commodity by itself, or it's a product, becomes commodity later through industry. Whichever is the case, they have to make it possible, very easy transaction. So without international rule, it cannot go from one country to another country. Without a rule, it cannot go from one region, cultural region, to another cultural region. As far as India is concerned, a particular this culture or folklore is property of some community. If there is no rule, international rule, they can't take that to other state and other countries. That is why, that is why I told that Arogya Pacha of this Kanika, what happened to that? They applied this international rule on that. It was confined to that community, and they used for a long time, that is since thousands of years, they were practicing that, and it is their property. And it was taken by this rule, international rule. They are ready, they are able to take that responsibility. They take the right over that particular plant. That is a debatable thing. Okay, next one. Yeah, definition, intangible cultural heritage for the purpose of this conservation. Again, the intangible cultural heritage means the practices, representations, expressions, knowledge, skills as well as the instruments, objects, artifacts, and cultural spaces associated therewith. That communities, groups, and in some cases individuals, the same as earlier, recognizes as part of their cultural heritage. This intangible cultural heritage, transmitted from generation to generation, is constantly recreated by communities and groups in response to their environment, their interaction with nature, and their history, and provides them with a sense of identity and continuity, thus promoting respect for cultural diversity and human creativity. For the purposes of this contention, consideration will be given solely to such intangible cultural heritage as it's complete and compatible with the existing international human rights instruments, as well as with the requirements of the mutual respect among communities, groups, and individuals, and of sustainable development. It is the definition given by this one. You see, almost the same, but attitude, implied meaning, it is something else. So I don't want to go in detail. Okay, next one. Then what all consists of ICH? Then in the same meeting, they enumerate, as did in earlier 1989 conference, they enumerated this one, what consists of folklore. In the same way, they enumerate this one. The intangible cultural heritage, as defined in paragraph 1 above, is manifested inter alia in the following domains. A, oral traditions and expressions, including language, is a vehicle of the intangible cultural heritage. Language also come under this. Yeah, folk speech is our folklore. Then performing arts, second one. Third one is social practices, rituals, and festive events. D, knowledge and practices concerning nature and the universe. It is something tricky. E, traditional craftsmanship. This is nothing but folklore. The same, these things they enumerated there in the definition of folklore also. So why do they want to do this? Almost same definition, same this content of that, enumerating them while doing this, enumerating the same content. Then why they wanted to change this nomenclature? So it is something tricky. Okay, next one. Economics and politics of terminological shift. What I feel, you can differ. That is another matter. As a folklorist, what I understood by looking all these and examining all these things. So what I felt, I put it here. It is not. It is. I own this. Never disown that. It is my impression on this. Modern to postmodern. That is ideological level. Colonialism to neo-colonialism, political level. Capitalism to neo-capitalism, economic level. Local to global, consumption level. Communal right to individual right, power level. All these force to a shift from folklore to ICH. This is my understanding. These things that happened in a globalized situation. All these made ideological stand, political stand, economic stand, consumption level stand. That is industry, this consumption marketing, local to global market. Then society to individual also. What happens to when we talk about this registration of IPR or CR or PR? It is sometimes you can register on this community also. It is so much problem for that. It is that problem we faced when this Arogya Pacha was registered in the name of the community, and it was very difficult to manage that ownership. So naturally, another problem also, if you want to go for IPR, you have to. It has its own way to prove that it is a new intangible. No, it is something intellectual property by scientific way. No tribal, no folk can do that. So some middleman is needed. That middleman does according to his will and wish. That happens in our country. So this is the thing that happens now. So international, what happened all these years? At last, we buried folklore and put a new plant over that burial place, burial thing, a new plant that is this ICH. It may grow. Let us hope. Okay, thank you. This is the thing. What is the time now? 8:30. Okay, I am going to the next immediately because we don't want the discussion today. We can have the discussion tomorrow, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock on both these, because I had to finish everything within tomorrow, or maybe day after tomorrow. Sometimes little time I have to, if the organizers allow me, I don't know. That's why I am so speedy in this one. Okay, or we can have one more day. I think you can cut short this one. That organizers has to take a decision that cut short one day for this evaluation of the participants, restricted to only one day. Then we can go for a detail this one, because I have 3 more slides and a PowerPoint. One is Allenden's definition, the conceptual understanding of Allenden's and Dan Ben Amos definitions. Tomorrow, this time I am going to, I think, that one. Then I think future of folklore and folkloristics. That's a long one. And if possible, we can discuss on the issue of we ourselves can suggest a new term for folklore as an academic discipline. So that also has to be taken care of. These 3 things, I think the organizers has to take a decision on this. Accordingly, I can just make it edit it myself and finish this. Anyway, it won't be possible tomorrow, but day after tomorrow, half a day or something, half a portion of that, I can do that, I think. But I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
what to do?
I think thus.
No, at any cost, we have to finish it by 70. No doubt about that, because it is too long. I myself get bored.
So it seems you need 3 more days, but you have only 1 day as per our previous schedule.
Yeah.
So you need 2 more days.
No, it is. We had to take a decision on that. If otherwise, I can finish it within 2 days. That is tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Cut short that evaluation for 1 day. That is one possibility. Anyway, it is not going to finish tomorrow. So it is not possible, because some serious issue that we are going to deal with, that is this future of folklore as well as Allenden's definition. You see Allenden's and this Dan Ben Amos definition, these concepts that nearly, I think, 18
but I think
who
need not cut short the time given to the participants.
Yeah.
I think let them make use of 2 days time. And if possible, we can extend 1 or 2 days. It all depends on the participants' willingness.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you need to cut short by tomorrow, and day after tomorrow also you have 1 hour.
Yeah. Well, let us see. I don't know.
Yeah, because we start by 6, you know.
Yeah, but still,
tomorrow you can take class from 6:30 onwards. And day after tomorrow also 1 hour is there.
Yeah, okay, okay.
If participants are willing,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
have
that is
2
the
more
that is
days.
the main.
2
If
more
they
days.
need, yeah, we are
Yeah.
not the people. No, I don't. No, it is not my decision because it is they are the recipients. No.
Yeah.
Then
No,
so
I think we will
yeah.
ask them to share their views through message today itself. If
Yeah.
that is the case, we will continue by extending 2 more days. Otherwise, we will confine to it. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And second, thus the institutional term folklore has been changed to intangible cultural heritage for the benefit or for the purpose of capitalists in the globalization era. So the next question is, what should be the role of folklorists in this scenario? So these things we need to discuss further. Now it is left to the participants to share your views about extension of the period. So already 4 or 5 people, they have shown their willingness for extension. But we need opinion of all the participants. Then only we can think of. Otherwise, we will confine to our time schedule by extending half an hour, by giving, or we do one thing, Raghavan.
Yeah.
I think let us wait to get the all the people are giving their willingness. I think let us account it at the end of the session, and we'll take the decision. Now it is the participants to involve in the discussion part.
Sure.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, we can continue the next one. Is it possible? That is future of folklore. No.
No, I think, no, you have already taken 3 hours of time.
Yeah, that is my personal.
No. Today, it's okay, it's enough. I think let them involve in the discussion.
Yeah, okay.
Because most of the people are giving willingness. I think let us wait and see until this section closes. Hello, participant. Please participate in the discussion group.
Sir. Hello, Painath sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nabhaneta, please.
Sir, here one questions for me. Can you discuss, sir, again the concept of copyright of folklore and how it is possible to copyright folk genres, basically oral-based folk genres? And this is not clear to me.
Yeah, that is the problem because I didn't have much time to explain each item. What is intellectual property right, each feature, and what is patent right, what is copyright, and that I already mentioned little that up to 1960 or so, 68 I think, they were more busy with or more interested in this copyright. Act. They never talk about IPR. They're coming with that in 1968, that meeting. Why? I have my own impression on that, but I didn't have much time to explain. But then there is a difference between why they for folklore expression. At a particular time, they coming with the terminology, the change in terminology. Instead of folklore, they use the word folklore expression. Why? Because they wanted to confine folklore to this Copyright Act because it's expressive form. So these all things, no, this copyright is for expressive forms because performance or action or anything, that kind of thing, what is expressed and what is received by the people, that is expressive form. Any expression, even a folk song is an expressive form, a form of expression, folklore expression, or anything. So for all those things, the right is copyright. So they wanted to confine folklore that's in relation to this right over that for illegal this dissemination or illegal making use of that. They wanted to take this folklore as folklore expression and limit it to that, and only Copyright Act is applicable to that. That they wanted to say like that. No, that is why behind these discussions that is working. No, it is not an innocent thing. All these days, last 2.5 centuries, we have been using this term folklore. Then in 1999 or after 1989, they come with the folklore expression. Why? It is purposeful. And they go to the intangible cultural heritage. So the main intention is that then if a rule is framed for that, only Copyright Act can be applied on that. Then intellectual property right is something that if a new invention, some intellectual invention by the individual, that is the problem. Individual innovation on something, maybe science or social science or anything, it will come under this this intangible this what you call intellectual property right, IPR. So as far as they know very well that they are doing some mischief, as far as I understand, they were talking much about the tribal community as well as this folk community. They were telling that folk knowledge and this one. They know very well that there is no knowledge, knowledge only practice. They have their knowledge. Knowledge has its own definition for that. What is knowledge? Knowledge is abstract. Rules framed out of the practice is called knowledge. What all practices having in a society, whether in natural context or in cultural context, what all practice is there in a society, it is general enough, undergo generalization, and then it is generalized fact, and it is applicable to all culture, all nature, then it is called theory. Theory is actually the innovation. That innovation has to get registration. That is IPR. Actual IPR is that. IPR is that. That is not a. They know very well. All these people writing and talking so much about these things. They know that these people not having any knowledge by itself. They have only practice. Agriculture is a practice, not a knowledge. If you have a knowledge, it is an applicable part, and any context, any this situation, you can apply this knowledge and make a new text out of that. That is the difference between knowledge and practice. Practice, you can't get a text, not by this one, structural pressure, this contextual pressure. They can create a new text out of that, but it is not part of the knowledge. Knowledge has this, that is why I explained all these things earlier, that how a knowledge, how knowledge is being created, and what happens to that knowledge. Knowledge moves and as technology, and technology moves to industry. It was explained like that. So knowledge and practice are something else. The traditional community only having knowledge, practice. They, for their life, they are doing everything, but they can't make use of that in a strange situation, strange context. They are helpless. So out of this practice, what is happening all over the world is that collecting all these practices and in a pretext that it is knowledge, taking from them, and to fill up the form for IPR, you have to make it by scientific methodology. You have to explain that how this is a knowledge. In that form, you have to fill everything. Is it possible for a common folk or common tribe to fill up that one? That means it is not a. So practice, you can get registration under copyright. That is the expressive form. But IPR, it is a knowledge. It is something abstract. And it's the application part also is there. It moves towards application. Otherwise, a practice cannot move to application. It is repetition only. You can repeat, not application on creating a new situation to satisfy the new situation. That is a problem. Then about PR. PR is a patent right. If you have a product or produce, then you can get registration. That product or produce cannot be produced by anybody and market that in the same name or this one. That is patent right. Each and every technological equipment or anything, or even what you get in market, agmark, this ghee. Some patent right is there. That is a thing is there. Nobody can make use of that. No, that has its own technology, and that product is of that company. So patent right is that one. You can get patent right for this one producers also. Our this what is called not tamarind, that this turmeric. Somebody got patent right, not in this one IPR. Patent right of, because it's a produce. That produce is available in India, and that practice is so many practices are there related to this this one, this turmeric. Then once one morning it was registered, somebody from America that produce. They got patent. Then India went to in international court, and at last somehow they got back. So this is happening. So now you understand that what is the difference between this IPR, this CR and PR. And then whatever we have, not directly this IPR as far as folklore, and my understanding that IPR is not possible for directly by this folklore or tribal law. That is not possible. Instead of that, we can have this PR and CR that is going on. To regulate this one, if it moves from one country to another, no, it is open to all. Now, after liberalization, in the globalized situation, all rules were liberalized, and anybody can invest money in any country and export anything to any country and import anything to this country. Like that, rules were changed. Then naturally this regional, this tribal or folk property can be go out. Then some discrepancy may come. For that, international rule is needed. That is the context in which they came for that. It is a positive thing also. We can't tell everything this one. If globalization and liberalization is, we accept that, then this international rule on this IPR, PR, and CR is applicable to folklore also. No doubt about that. Then the question is whether we need this kind of development, whether we need or not. That is the ultimate question we have to ask. That is the problem. As far as folklore is concerned, as an academic discipline, and folklore is concerned as a cultural product, then is it advisable that this kind of a development, that is unification model of development, this make possible, these things possible, then whether it is needed or not, that we have to discuss. As far as folklorists are concerned, this is my concern over this issue. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, another 5 to 7 minutes. Is there any other participant? I request all the participants to show your opinion, whether to postpone, whether to extend or not. It is a must. Only 10 people have sent the message right now.
Anybody? Where is Kanda Subramaniam? He asked to some.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah. He used to ask some serious logical questions or clarifications, no? Yeah, Pavitra. No. Somebody, yeah. Yeah. You may ask something. Ruchi, eh? Your name is Ruchi? Okay. Everybody is keeping mum. But I am talking and you are taking rest, you know.
Sir, may I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, why not?
Yes, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir. Sir, I wish the class was longer, and personally, I'm willing to attend more classes to have more idea on and clarity on different issues that are left to be discussed. So while you were speaking and talking about how folklore as a discipline, unlike any other discipline, is more internationally influenced and highly pressurized. In that context, sir, like in my mind, I was constantly thinking about how identity plays a very critical role in this discourse. How identity is a very important issue when we talk about geopolitics or marketed industry. So what are your thoughts regarding how identity play a role in whatever is happening to folklore through international intervention?
Yeah, this identity is part of modern thought, postmodern thought also, because it has it has double-edged. sometimes it may create problems also, because if you are practicing this ideology, ideology is very important, and it may lead to some conflict also sometimes in a country like, everywhere, because identity crisis is there, and people wanted to keep their identity, and it will be against the liberty of other communities sometimes. So that kind of problem is there when we take this identity as central point of our discipline. Still, if we want to, again, I used to say that with one thing, without function, no academic subject can exist. Folklore going to be extincted because it has no functions to do. It never showed that it has some function to do in the present context of socio-economic and politics. So the problem is that either we had to leave the scene, or we had to attribute some new the same function or any function in a different manner. So for that, that function should be, we are in a serious the whole globe is a serious situation facing. In this situation, it is because of, people used to say that it's okay, globalization and liberalization, it is a need, we can, whatever we can have, get out of that, we will also consume. But in the end, what will happen? It goes in this way, what will happen? That is why yesterday I was talking about the consumption of energy. That was the base of this civilization or development. How much energy you are using per day. That is the criteria. Then to attain that, you may go for you may go at any extent. So what happens? Individual, society, then state, nation, and all nations together go in that line. What will happen? We can assume. In such a context, we have to have an alternate way of, we are not against, this world has to go forward only. We can go back. At this particular juncture, some deviation is whether that we have to think about whether any deviation is needed to face this extinct of this nature and culture. One of the ways is that, so many ways may be there, I don't know, is that we have to develop ourselves. It is the model of upliftment. Then this such problem will be not completely, but at a certain extent, we can, I think we can subside, I think. That is why, yes, a subject that is very near to daily life of the people, that is folklore. Then it is the time that folklore as a discipline has to take some decision, and accordingly we have to redefine folklore in the context of this very serious problem that the whole world is facing. That is my argument on that. Pooja, got it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Exactly what the answer that I have given is the exact answer, or I was beating the bush? I don't know, because yeah. Yeah, that may happen,
So
because
you elaborated it very.
yeah.
So also, sir, I don't know about others, but I would really like to listen to you more. And I don't have any problem if we can extend the classes. It's just my
Okay.
opinion. But Yeah.
Okay, that is another thing. It is organizers has to take a decision on that. It is not me. I am ready because at this age also I am ready to, because of the this facing this serious problem. That as an academician, it is my duty to disseminate the knowledge. That kind of knowledge as a remedy for that. That is my intention. Okay. I think we can stop it now because we have time tomorrow. Yeah, you want to ask some question?
Yeah, sir. Sir, I
Yeah.
want to ask you a question, sir. Sir, please tell me one more thing, that when you discussing folklore and folkloristics, you have divided folklore into two parts. So, sir, you have divided academic folklore into two parts. One is folklore studies and another folkloristics.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the basics difference between them?
Yeah, on that, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, not now, because it is explained on that day itself very, very elaborately, because one is inductive and the other one is inductive. And I explained all those things on that day. I think some interruption in your network, you couldn't get that. I think we can explain that again. I think when this Salander's definition and other thing, no, this future of folklore and this one again, that subject may come. I think it should come for discussion again. So then I don't want to give a detail because others may get irritated. No, so wait for that. Otherwise, I will next day or the next day I will again explain that. No.
Sure, sir. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Ready? Let us close. Where is our Reddy? Professor Reddy? Yeah, let's close today.
Hello, Sudhakar ji.
Where is Sudhakar? Sudhakar has come?
Yes, sir, I am here.
Yeah, okay, thank you. What about Chelaperumal? Yeah, I have seen you. Yeah, it's a good thing too. Yeah. Yeah, I like this. Yeah. So, what to do then? Ready, don't waste time. Time is precious because we have only little time to.
Yeah, because there are no questions. We will conclude for today's today program. Only 14 people have sent their opinion. Out of 14, one is not willing to extend, and all other 13 people they are for extension. Other people they didn't say anything. So how can we take? It is a must. So I request all the people to send their opinion right now within 2 minutes.
Positive or negative, it is left to you.
Even if you are not willing, don't hesitate. You please inform that. Yeah, 2 more add that. 16. Yeah. So I think now 16 1. Only one. So I think 16 people they have given their consent. So 17. Okay. Yeah, I think more people are willing for that. So shall we accept the one day?
Yeah,
Is
one day
enough?
is enough, I think. Oh, don't go for more.
No, what we can do is you take half an hour more.
Yeah.
Our discussion will not be there between 7 and 9. You take 2 hours a class.
Yeah.
Discussion will be there only from 6 to 7 for next 2 days. So we'll have, so like that, yeah, already 18 plus 19 people they have given, and 3 more people they didn't attend today. So they are also, who can take it. Now who can decide. So who can extend 1 day, okay?
Yeah.
Only thing is by tomorrow and day after tomorrow you take classes and try to complete your lecture.
Yeah.
And other, because we have fossils conference also. And one more thing, I request all the participants to participate in the 28th annual conference of fossils to be held in Coimbatore on 23rd and 24th of this month.
24th and 25th.
Sorry, 24th and 25th of February. Those who have not yet registered, you may do so with it. Actually, the last date is over, but because you are the participants, you are given a chance for that. Those who are interested, you can register. I think Professor Raghavan will send the communication to all the participants. You can give them just 2 or 3 days time for registration. Okay? Yeah. I think now, yeah, there will be only 1 day extension, that is tomorrow and day after tomorrow, there will be classes. And after that, you have 2 days for your participants' performance, I can say. Now we shall conclude here. I request Shiv Kumar Ji to conclude today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, tomorrow we will have a meeting with our resource persons. Okay? After 9,
Okay.
we will have a meeting with our resource persons. Okay, Shiv Kumar Ji? Yeah, you can conclude now. So there will be 1 day extension. Okay.